Hey gang, it is Thursday, February 15th, 2018, and you've been waiting for it. Here it is, Brooklyn Pony Part 16. Now, in the previous videos I showed the TCI and the problems I had with the fitment of the suspension parts and whatnot and how I fixed that. And I did a review video of those parts after they were powder coated, and I'm progressing from there. About a month ago, I received some parts in the mail that were provided to me by the owner, and he wants me to install these. And these parts are made by Mustangs to Fear. And so I'm going to show you what those parts are, and I'm also going to show you how I'm going to install them, my own interpretation. I have contacted the company, and there are a couple pictures online of how this is installed, or how it looks to be in a finished installation. But I couldn't find anything that directly said, do this, do this, do this. So they're kind of a universal fit for the 65 to 68 Mustangs, and it's left up to the installer to kind of make them fit the car. So I'm going to go over that. The part number from Mustangs to Fear, you can see right here, let me slide that over, is that FR number. 65 to 68, okay? And I'm going to show you what those pieces are and how they're supposed to be installed in the car. Also, I will post a picture of how it is supposed to look when it's finished. Again, I'm going to do my own interpretation of this. I talked to them, and they don't have any videos or anything like that showing these installed. And hopefully, if you're interested in that, you can see how I do it and then decide if it's something you're interested in. So let me show you what the pieces are and roughly how they fit the car. These are the pieces you get in the kit. You have a support pipe structure. This is for the driver's side. You have one for the passenger side. You have two support struts, and you have these plates that will get welded to the firewall. And I'm going to show you how those are supposed to fit the car. Now, from the picture that I've seen online, the little square plate is intended to be welded on up here on the firewall. And I'll do a close-up on that later. I'm not real sure I like the way that's set up. The big pipe is intended to be mounted to the frame rail and also interact with that pipe, that plate that gets welded to the firewall. Now, I will point out this pipe is long. It actually kind of interacts with where the bracket would be for the bumper, and so I'm going to have to shorten this assembly to move it back that way. Also, I'm going to try to make an effort to where this doesn't really touch anything. I'm going to leave a gap so that there's no vibration issues down the road. The second part of that is the strut. This is intended to be welded to the torque box and then interact at some point up here with that main pipe assembly. So I want to show you the issue I have with that plate. Now, basically, from the picture and from the discussion I had with them, this plate doesn't really fit this firewall like I think it should. There may be there's obviously some issue with the apron being in the way, but also it's going to leave a gap behind it. So I may do my own variation on this just to be more comfortable with how it fits, and I'll get more into detail on that later. I want to show you how things fit on the driver's side. Now, the driver's side, the main support pipe fits better than it does on the passenger side because there's no hump here, there's no protrusion of the heater box. So the only issue I have with this one is, again, it overlaps the second bolt for the bumper bracket. So I'll have to shorten this assembly and get it to move back. Now, they did cut this edge at a taper, this end of it, which is nice, But unfortunately, again, I'm going to have to duplicate that and shorten this up to make it fit, because I can't have that bracket or this covering up the bracket for the bumper. So other than that, I think the driver's side is going to be fairly easy to install. As you can see, I did install a bumper bracket on the passenger side here, and then I just kind of made a rough cutout area or rough drawing of where the front edge will fit, and that way I have just a good reference point. In the back, where it's going to meet the firewall, I'll hold this up in place and just show you the difference. If I put this, and I can move it forward just a little bit from that location, but you can see how much is going to have to come off. That's probably at least ½ an inch. I could probably do a little bit less if I move it forward just a little bit, but I will need to shorten that pipe and make it fit. As you can see, or at least I hope you can see, what I did as a reference is just take a piece of tape and follow that angle, because it's previously cut at an angle. So I wanted to replicate that, and then I drew a line. Now this tape is 3/4 of an inch, but that's not a big deal. All I needed was a good angle. Got a bird singing out there. Now what I'm planning to do is take my chop saw and angle the back brace so that I can replicate the angle that's on the pipe. And to do that, I'll just slide the pipe down, or slide the head down, and get it in position. Make sure that plate is at the angle I want to match that, and then tighten up the bolts, and that way to hold it in place. Safety glasses, hearing protection. There you can see I'm just inside of that line. I needed to add a little bit more on that cut because I got to thinking about the thickness of that little plate that's going to attach to the firewall. What I've done is down there at the bottom, I put a paint mixing stick so that would give me some elevation, so that I wouldn't just set the pipe flat on that flange, and that'll give me a place that I can weld underneath. Let me show you what I see happening with the pipe and the plates. If I put the pipe, now that I've shortened it, and I did actually take a little bit more off, and yours will vary. If you do install one of these, it'll have to fit your car, so you'll have to figure that out when you get to that point. But with this pipe roughly in location, and if I take the square that's provided, it'll end up sitting basically like that. I'll center the square on the pipe so that I have a nice perimeter weld all the way around. I don't want to have it offset, kind of like that. I will work it so that it's in the center of that pipe. But once I get that located and tacked in place, and I'll show you that when I get to that point, I don't like the way this is all hanging out in empty space here. And I'll do a close-up on that in just a second. Now it might be kind of hard to show you exactly what I have in mind, but basically this is how it's going to end up. This plate will be welded on this bottom edge and over here against the apron. So that's where it's going to end up. Now the plan to add some structural rigidity to this is to take some of this leftover material that I used on the Frankentruck, the bumper that I built, and I will brace it like so, weld that in, and then I will create a triangulated piece to fit up here that will also offer support, and then I'll decide if I want to add one to the bottom or not. But basically I need to have something to support this plate. I don't like having just that edge welded and this edge welded, so hope that makes sense. Well, as you can see, I just have this tacked into place. I just have one tack weld down here and one short one holding the plate in place. And I'm going to get a little closer and show you what my fix is to reinforce that plate a little more. So what I've done is I've made a couple brace pieces. This one's going to go on the outside like that, and this one's going to go on top. And those will get a full perimeter weld around the edges all the way around and get welded solid. I will also finish welding around the base and the inside edge of this plate before I finish attaching the main pipe. But this will add a bit more structure to this. I don't like this being out in space, and like I said, when I talked to the manufacturer, they had said that some people will cut this plate and angle it back and do different things, but I think this makes a simpler fix. So you need some extra pieces of metal to do that. And then the next part will be installing this strut support. And of course this will weld directly to the torque box, and you can see it's not angled at all. So I'll have to shape that to make it fit. So I'll have to play around with what angle I'll end up with, and whether I want to do some transitions, like if I want it to be pitched back or if I want it to be square in line with the pipe that I have. I know I don't want to go inboard, I don't think, but I'll take a look at that and see what makes more sense. So just trying to add more strength and structure to this front area. I thought I'd give you another perspective. With the fender in place, I put the splash apron in place as well, roughly. I wanted to see how much space I had left for the angle of this strut rod. And I think it makes more sense to angle it outboard towards the rocker panel, and then of course make it fit this main hoop assembly. That way you want to triangulate as much as you can to make things stiff. So by doing not only the angle but also the not having it in line, that creates kind of a multiple triangle support, let's say. Alright, so the main hoop is welded in place, and it's definitely not going anywhere. Nice and solid. And I did trim that strut piece, and let me show you how that's going to fit. So as I said, I did trim this to fit, and it'll come slightly outboard on the torque box, and then match up on this little bit of a bend area on the main hoop. I think that's going to be real nice. So I'll get that welded in, and we'll do one final look on this passenger side. Thought I'd do one final look so you can see how everything came out. And I also got the driver's side in. It's not as well lit over here, but same deal. I tried to replicate as many of the angles as I could, the gap between the aprons, the angle on the strut brace. So I'm pretty happy with that. So that's it. Now you know how I installed this Mustangs to Fear frame stiffener kit. Took a little configuring, let's say, to figure out this passenger side. The driver's side went really smooth, but now at least you have an idea of what it's going to take if you want to install one of these in your car. I think it will add some stiffness, and like I said, it's a pretty decent kit. There's always room for improvement. You know, we can all look at something and go, hey, this could be better, this could be better, but you know, this worked. So I hope you liked the video. I hope you learned something, and hope you can put that to good use if you decide to use one of these kits. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Please share, and you know, as well as subscribe. You know, somewhere down here should be a subscribe button, and this will be added to the the Brooklyn Pony playlist as well. So you can go back and check those other videos and see how the build started from. And beyond that, I think that's it. So as usual, thanks for watching, and stay tuned. There will be more videos coming on this car and of course on other projects. The geese like it too.